Throughout my CSGO team journey, I have played on multiple different rosters and kind of gotten an understanding of what makes a good teammate and what makes a bad teammate, right? I've learned a lot from different players, and throughout my experience and time in the scene, I've grown a lot from learning from the good teammates and learning what not to do from the bad teammates. So today I kind of want to share some advice with you so that you can avoid being a bad teammate and try your hardest to be that great teammate for your squad, right? And the first thing I want to talk about, guys, what it takes to be a good teammate is just being a brother for your team, right? Be the brother, man. These guys are your team, right? They're more than friends. They are your, squad, right? At the end of the day, if you're serious with this team and you want to grow with them, you need to be their brother and you need to have their back no matter what they're going through, right? And a lot of players don't understand this, and a lot of players fail to be there, outside of the server for their teammates. It's just as important as being there inside the server, because trust me, guys, I think, a lot of you that have competed on teams, and I can speak from personal experience, if you don't have that brotherhood and that chemistry, it makes the in-server part of the game so much harder, right? If you look at a team like Bad News Eagles, those guys are such a brotherhood. Those guys, I can just tell they have so much passion for each other, and they would do anything for each other, right? And it helps them beat some of these better teams. I've been on teams where we are so much better than the other, than our opponents that we're facing, but the opponents just have that chemistry and that brotherhood that just is so much better than us, right? So the first thing you need to be able to do is be there for your teammates, right? Being a brother is being there for your teammates, in the server, out the server, and just being that shoulder that they can rely on, right? So, that's all good and nice, right? But that's not going to take you, to the top. That's not, right? Just having, that chemistry, and it's not going to take you to the top, right? What you can focus on is doing everything you can to provide constructive criticism, right? Be constructive. Don't let bad things happen, right? If something bad is happening, let the player that, is doing these things know, right? You can't run from confrontation. You can't hide from this stuff. But you need to keep each other accountable and make sure that everybody is on the same page as far as the expectations and what you're doing. So as far as your responsibilities, right, that means that you're taking them 100% serious, right? So you need to be watching that demo that your teammate told you to do. You need to be putting in the hours in deathmatch. You need to be learning the nade set that you're supposed to learn, so that when you get into the server, you're not the reason that the strat's failing. You're not the reason that something's falling apart, right? And if you can consistently be that person that is super reliable and the team can actually rely on, then you're going to go very far in this game, because even if your teammates can't put in that time and put in that energy, somebody's going to recognize your efforts, and somebody's going to recognize how consistent you are, and you might be able to find a better team that will give you that shot because they have that same mental and same attitude as you. And speaking of mental, guys, the worst thing you can do as a teammate, and one thing you need to avoid, is just being negative, right? And I know it's so hard because of the nature of Counter-Strike and the nature of esports, but you really need to try your best to not be negative and suck the life out of that team. And like I said, guys, I completely understand why this might be hard, and it's hard, especially if you're going through things in real life and there's outside sources affecting you. But man, it's so important to be able to stay positive and feed good energy into the team. If you're not capable of feeding good energy into the team, you're only going to lower the standards of the team, and it's just going to make it a hostile, not fun environment, and nobody wants to play in that, right? Because at the end of the day, Team CS, it is so competitive. If you're at a higher level, you're playing for money, right? You're playing for money, you're playing for all this stuff. This might be, something you want to make into your career. But at the end of the day, you can't let the stress get to you. You can't let this pressure crack you and start being, negative, toxic, and, just not someone that people want to be around. So that, is just something that is super, hard to actually grasp in the scene. And I've seen a lot of competitive teams, in ECL, even advanced level, rarely pro, because usually players figure it out by then. But I've seen a lot of ECL teams implode because it's just full of 4 or 5 negative, toxic players that can't make it work. And to be completely honest with you guys, if you have a team and there's one person that's just this negative, I guess like garbage person, for lack of better words, it can work. It can work, right? You can balance it out by having 4 guys that can counter out this bad person. But when you start adding multiple people like that, it just makes it impossible to play. So don't be that person. Yeah, I'm not asking you to be overly positive and all this stuff, but just be human, right? Just be human and just be normal, I guess, right? So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen from my time. And guys, also one thing that really makes teams happy is if you can be punctual, right? I know we all have busy schedules, and especially if you're playing at lower levels, it may be hard for you to actually put in that time because there's not as much of an incentive to play in open and intermediate, right? Like, you're not getting paid the big dollars, whatever. um but a team really appreciates if that you can be there, you can put in the time to be in the server, you can always show up and do your best, right? And it's just something that, and especially in North America, a lot of players can't do, right? Players are constantly late to practice, players are constantly not there, and you know what that's gonna do? It's really gonna make the team not like you, right? Even if you're a good player, even if you're in the server, if you just are oversleeping, if you're not showing up when you're supposed to, if you have poor communication as far as like your schedule and what's going on in your life, then there's not going to be a reason for the team to want to play with you because it's just not worth it, right? So whatever you do, make sure that you are very punctual and you're able to actually put in the effort that the team needs, right? Because I almost rather have a worse player that can put in all the effort, put in all the work to get to where he wants to be versus a player where is in his mind where he wants to be and just isn't able to actually show up and be reliable and be consistent. So that's also one of the most important things, because at the end of the day, you're just trying to grow, as a team, and you're trying to do this, and you can't do that if people are oversleeping, if they're not responding. And it's definitely something I've seen over the past years that is very harmful and very negative to a team environment, right? But yeah, and also guys, lastly, the biggest thing you need to do is just come into practice, come into your game with ideas, right? You don't need to be the IGL to do this. You could be any role and do this, right? But always have ideas in your head on how you can play with your other players on your team. That's why it's a team CS, right? That's why you're not playing matchmaking. You're not playing individually. You're playing team CS, right? So always come in with new ideas that you can use to make your squad's CT side better, T side better, whatever, right? Like it could simply just be a flash play for your teammate, right? Like, hey man, I'm gonna start throwing this flash for you and you're gonna peek like this, boom. In 20 seconds you talked about it, and then you take 2 to 4 minutes to maybe dry run it a bit, practice it, get it down, and then now in your matches you actually have it, right? So that's what being a good teammate is coming into practice and building your other players up, right? You're making plays that are going to make their life easier. So always keep that in mind, always try to do that. But yeah, I mean, this has been things that you can do to be a better teammate inside of Counter-Strike and to really grow through your career. It's a little more in depth, it's a little more specific, but I hope that this kind of insight actually can help you guys grow and become better players, right? Because my channel's been focused on beginner tips and beginner guides, but I really think it's important to give advice and give insight from my own experience on how to improve once you've already established yourself in the competitive scene and you're in that competitor grind set, right? So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You know what it is. So thank you guys so much. Have a good day. Peace out.